WNYC Studios is supported by Wise. Wise, the smart way to manage the currencies you need around the world. With the Wise account, you can send, spend, and receive in up to 40 currencies with only a few simple taps. Be smart. Get Wise. Download the Wise app today. Terms and conditions apply.
It's the Brian Lehrer Show on WNYC. Happy parade morning, everyone. This is going to be a different kind of show today. The parade for the Knicks is beginning right now, if it's on schedule, down at the bottom of Manhattan. We will go there live for the start in just a minute. We will also check in briefly in the middle of the show, and we will return to parade coverage around 11:45 this morning with the sports columnist and author Bill Rhoden. And together, Bill and I will take you through the City Hall ceremony with the speeches and everything, which is scheduled to start at noon. In between, we'll do other things, including keep an eye on the Supreme Court, which has an end-of-term decision day today. We don't know if the biggest ones we're expecting will drop this morning, but any of them might, like on birthright citizenship, temporary protected status, transgender athletes, and mail-in ballots, all with huge implications, obviously. We'll know which decisions in the next few minutes, because they start releasing those at 10 o'clock, and we will analyze any breaking Supreme Court news with law professor Kate Shaw, who's standing by. But here we go with the fun stuff. If the cell phones are working, part one, we're going to try now to go live to Lower Manhattan, where WNYC and Gothamist reporter Brittany Kriegstein has been since around 6 o'clock this morning at the tip-off point of the parade for the NBA champion New York Knicks. Do we have Britt yet? Okay, we don't have Brittany yet. We had her a few minutes ago, but you may have noticed that a few people in Lower Manhattan are using their cell phones at the same time today. So we're going to try to get that connection to Britt. But listeners, we're going to bring you in on this too. We're also going to have Barbara Barker, Newsday sports columnist, with us from the top of the parade route, City Hall, in a few minutes. But listeners, I presume if you're listening now, you are not at the parade. So let's have a little ticker tape parade of the air. Here are a few of the ways we can invite you to participate. If you were at the parade today, what might you be chanting? 212-433-WNYC, 212-433-9692. If you were at the parade today, what might you be chanting? We're going to give you an example or two in a minute of some things that are not just "Let's Go Knicks." If you have school-age kids, did they go to the parade? Did you let them cut? Tell us that story. What kind of conversation did you have or decision-making process did you go through yourself as a parent? 212-433-9692. Now, if they went to school, is the school doing anything parade-related? One friend of mine with a kid in the system said their school had Orange and Blue Day earlier this week. The Knicks team colors, of course. Is your child's school doing anything like that today, or did they earlier in the week? Help us report that story. 212-433-WNYC, 212-433-9692. Kind of more conceptually, why do you think sports, mere games, can inspire this kind of emotion? That was our newsletter reader question last week. Some of the responses we got went like this. Regina on Staten Island wrote, "Why? Sports unite us. They are alive and real. We get to believe and be united." Carol in Toronto wrote, "There's nothing in this tough time that beats connection and the simple joy of a game." Sharon in Manhattan chimed in, "At the simplest, most basic level, sports move me because they are real, not virtual." So listeners, join our Knicks Parade of the Air on any of those things if you're feeling the vibe wherever you are. If you were at the parade today, what might you be chanting? 212-433-WNYC, 212-433-9692. If you have school-age kids, did they go to the parade? Did you let them cut? 212-433-9692. If they went to school, is the school doing anything parade-related, Orange and Blue Day or anything else? Or more conceptually, why do you think sports, mere games, can inspire this kind of emotion? 212-433 WNYC 212-433-9692. Call us up or let those text messages fly. Now I think we have WNYC's Brittany Kriegstein at the tip-off point of the parade downtown. Hey, Britt, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hope you can hear me, Brian.
I can hear you. Set the scene for the radio audience. Where are you? What does it look like?
Well, it is, as you can imagine, a sea, and I'm talking a literal sea of people in orange and blue. Everywhere you can possibly lay eyes on, there are fans. I'm currently on top of a press truck, and the driver just got in. It's starting to rumble, so I think we'll be stepping off soon. Sure, you can hear people cheering and yelling behind me. The excitement is really bubbling over, so it's just a matter of a few minutes now, and I think we'll be underway.
People have been predicting the biggest ticker tape parade turnout in New York City history. Can you tell if that's the case or if it feels like it might be the case, and especially given the predictions of rain?
It sure looks like everybody who planned to come here and then some are here unless they got turned away by the NYPD, because we did hear earlier that those spectator sections closed. That was maybe an hour and a half ago, so those filled up really early. The parade doesn't start until now at 10, so people had been here, they told me, since 3 a.m. Truly insane crowd. The last ticker tape parade I covered was for the New York Liberty 2024. It was nothing like this. As excited as those fans were, these Knicks fans, it really feels like the entirety of the city is here.
Yeah, and we did live coverage of the Liberty Parade, too. So interesting that you were at both and you have that point of comparison. How is the weather? Has it been raining at all?
Just a few sprinkles here and there, certainly not enough to dampen the mood.
Or to make people scatter toward covered spaces, I guess.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. People seem to be planted where they ended up. You know, if they were on Broadway, they certainly aren't moving, I think, come hell or high water at this point.
How do those pens work? People who may have gone to some parades in the past, whether a ticker tape parade down there or a Thanksgiving Day parade or anything else, may have just kind of shown up. I know I've done that in the past on Thanksgiving. What's the actual system?
This was nothing like I'd ever seen before here, Brian. People were sort of corralled into specific entrances, and they waited a while. I waited with maybe hundreds of people. Some said that they were there for 45 minutes. This was at 7 a.m., and they were let in just a few at a time to be screened through metal detectors and have their bags checked so they could even be next to the barricades on Broadway. So again, just security measures unlike we've ever seen at this parade.
And people have been turned away because the pens filled up, so they just have to turn around and go home or go wherever
That's
to watch
right.
the parade?
Go home, maybe go to a local bar or stream it. There's multiple different sites, obviously broadcasting the parade. So unfortunately, they won't be able to wave to Jalen Brunson in person, but perhaps get even maybe a better experience online out of the chaos.
Nothing like being at a bar at 10 o'clock in the morning. Who have you been talking to? Want to give us some examples?
Totally. So many different kinds of people, old, young. I think you mentioned about schools, you know, parents and the mayor maybe not letting kids officially skip, but it certainly seems like many kids are here. I spoke to 8-year-old Corey Jackson. She said she got up at 4:40 this morning, and she said she was exhausted, but she just couldn't wait to wave to the players. I spoke to some older fans, Patricia McLinley from Staten Island. They took the first ferry over here. She had her Yorkie Diamond on her lap on Broadway, and Diamond's ears are dyed blue and orange. So clearly a lifelong fans in that family. So just like I said, so many different people here, and really a microcosm, or really more than a microcosm at this point, of New York and New Yorkers and people who are just really excited about this event and the team.
Maybe we'll have to coin a new word for this parade, macrocosm. It's a macrocosm of New York and Lower Manhattan. Are you hearing different kinds of chants Britt, as part of the merriment, Newsday a little while ago posted this. Fans along the barricades of the parade route, many here since before sunrise, have begun to chant at anything they can. An MTA bus stopped to let off workers. Sanitation, the fans cheered, although it was unclear if the workers were actually employed by the Department of Sanitation. Later, a boy using a wheelchair was escorted by police down Broadway, and fans gave him a big round of applause. So are you seeing or hearing anything like those things that Newsday reported?
Those are great. I haven't quite heard that myself. Obviously, I heard a lot of Knicks in 5 and Jalen Brunson. Right now, it's hard to hear anything above the two different marching bands that are next to me practicing two different songs at the same time. But I think fans at this point would cheer for anything that anybody told them to. They are just so excited. That group mentality. They're there. They're next to Broadway. They're going to see these heroes. For so many people, this team is heroes. And so they are just going to get into whatever. Oh, and we just started moving here, Brian. So I think I'm going to have to let you go. But we will definitely be sending more dispatches as today goes on.
All right. Have fun. Stay safe. We'll be hearing from you later, Britt.
Thank you so much. Right.
WNYC's Brittany Kriegstein as the parade kicks off in Lower Manhattan. Let's take some of these calls who want to participate in the Knicks Parade of the Air. Here's Zara in Harrison, New York, in Westchester. You're on WNYC. Hi, Zara.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
You have a story for us?
Yes, so I dropped my two daughters, ages 9 and 7, to the train station with my husband this morning because he was super eager to take them to the parade. I was really worried about the crowds and getting lost, though.
That is a good dad. Shepherding, did you say 7 and 9?
Yeah, 7 and 9-year-old. Well, my 4-year-old's in preschool.
And were they into the games, your 7 and 9-year-olds?
Yes, particularly my 7-year-old. She's a huge fan. But we had that discussion, the night before in our house, like, should they cut school because schools are still in session until the 26th here in Westchester. And then, the worry about if they get lost, I put their phone numbers on their shirts and, it was like a whole thing. But in the end, I'm from Houston. I was born and raised in Houston. And I remember the energy of the city when the Rockets won back-to-back 94, 95. We were Clutch City, and I want them to have that memory for the Knicks, too. And we had the ticker tape parade and everything.
Did you tell the teachers that your kids were going to cut?
I wrote a very ambiguous note, an email to the school this morning that the kids will arrive late today, midday, because they have to go somewhere with their father. But I'm sure, the cat will be out of the bag when they make it to school.
Zara, thank you very much for starting us off on the virtual Knicks Parade. We'll take more of your calls in a couple, folks. The Knicks Parade of the Air. Keep calling in with what you would be chanting out there or what your kids are doing today when we come back from a break. And a reminder that we're going to have this surreal juxtaposition today of parade coverage and Supreme Court coverage if they drop any big decisions, which we are expecting they might any minute now. But we'll continue next with Barbara Barker from Newsday, who's at the top of the parade site at City Hall. Stay with us. Brian Lehrer on WNYC. We'll get back to your calls and texts with the Knicks Parade of the Air after we talk to Barb Barker from Newsday for a couple of minutes, because we don't know how long her line is going to last either at City Hall. But 212-433 WNYC, if you want to get in line and participate, 212-433-9692. Call or you can text, where there is never a line. Barbara Barker joins us from City Hall, where the ceremony for the Knicks will take place at the end of the parade. Newsday sports columnist Barbara Barker. And if you think this parade is just a New York thing, among Barb's recent articles is one called "The New York Knicks Have Turned Into America's Team." So, Barb, can you hear me?
Hey, Brian. Yes, I can. It's kind of a miracle. My phone has been going in and out. So we'll see if it keeps going in.
As was Brittany's downtown. I think a few people might be on their phones down there right around now.
It's true. It's crazy.
Want to set the City Hall scene for us? Anything happening there as the parade is starting to head toward you from further downtown?
I mean, they had people ran, a bunch of people, like 600 people. From it looks like they stopped it, so I don't know if they beat or whatever. But yeah, I think anything else in right now. Well, unless you have like an Uber special pass or something.
Oh boy, you are kind of cutting in and out. Listeners, stay with us. We're going to give it, a few shots here with Barb, especially because I want to get to her article on the Knicks turning into America's team. You wrote before the clincher, Game 5, that viewers across the country who would usually be pulling for the smaller market team were fully embracing the Knicks. Why do you think that is from Big Bad New York?
Well, I think a couple of reasons. A, winning streak was this is a big person's game, and are not that big, and we were small. So guards, if a guard is a star, it is very appealing to a lot of fans. All right, because they're like, it's just incredible to watch, and especially this, he was playing Victor Wembanyama, who
Right. And listeners, I apologize. We're going to try to keep working this. Yeah, she was talking about Jalen Brunson, a guard, a position that is relatively less kind of a superstar position than a forward or a center. Drawing all this love and standing out the way Jalen Brunson did and at only 6'2". I want to ask you something for the less basketball-obsessed people in the audience.
Sure.
Because you wrote about the attractiveness of the team effort that characterized the Knicks' playoff run. Is that not usually the case? I mean, basketball is a team sport.
Well, it is a team, but part of it's a team sport, but it's also a team. It's a superstars. The NBA markets its superstars. Okay, the Knicks do have some superstars, but they don't have anybody who is like first team NBA, all right? And so that is a little unusual to have a bunch of guys who work really sort of well together. And I'm going to tell you, at the beginning of the year, I'm not sure they were that team. So they kind of became that team really in the playoffs, I think. Things clicked after I mean, and when they went on a 13-game winning streak. So that's a really big, huge names. I mean, Brunson is, Karl-Anthony Towns is a multiple-year All-Star, all right? But nobody else on that team. Well, Brunson is a multiple, but Karl-Anthony Towns has been an All-Star for a long time. But other people, it's not like that. So that's part of it. And a lot of the complaint about the NBA today, it's why people love, which I don't, but a lot of people do love college basketball, this perception that college players are more of a team. And this team played 3 by Villanova. They've known each other since they were 18 years old.
I think we're going to have to let you go in a minute because I think it's just too hard for people to listen to. But let me try one more here because you just talked about the Knicks becoming this team, this real unit over the course of the season, not necessarily starting out that way last fall. So do you have any thoughts about the coaching? Because kind of like Brunson as a player, the reputation of Coach Mike Brown was really, really good, but not necessarily superstar caliber. Now, everyone says he did such a brilliant job of making adjustments, especially beginning early in the playoffs after the Knicks had lost a couple of games, and he gets so much credit. Are you on that bandwagon? And if so, what do you say about Mike Brown and what he did this year?
A foot and a half on that bandwagon, all right? So I think he did a good job. I think when they let go of their coach at the end of last year, it was kind of shocking. I don't know what would have... He did a great job. I have nothing to say but good things about the job he did. Some of the things he did were really, really pro, like when he put into Game 5. I don't want to get too much into basketball. But Jose Alvarado, who's a New Yorker, who everyone loves, doesn't play that much. He put it in. He energized the team. That is something maybe the previous coach would not have done. So he made some really, really good decisions. And he's also more of a conversation. I mean, he relates to players maybe a little bit different than the last guy, than Tom Thibodeau did, who I thought was a very good coach too.
Yeah, well, since your line stabilized a little bit, I'm going to try to extend by one more. And
okay, all right. Okay.
I wonder if you, as a career sports writer, ever ask yourself the question we put out in our newsletter last week and read some responses from before, why people care so much. You know, you can think about this while we listen to this clip of Mayor Mamdani, who was on the show on Monday after the Saturday night clincher, and he said this about being moved as a sports fan.
I think whether we're talking about the finals or whether we're talking about the World Cup, you see how so much of this game, which it is such a critical part of people's lives. And I know that there are some that try and diminish sports as if a distraction, but sports are also a fulfillment of oneself and one's vision for the world around them. And what was one of the more beautiful things that I've seen over the course of this finals run was how it was something people enjoyed together. So many people were looking to be a part of this alongside those that they knew and those that they'd never met before.
Mayor Mamdani here on Monday. Can you relate to that, Bob, or want to add anything to it?
Yeah, and I'll add this to it, and this is something sports writers think about all the time, actually, all right? So I really think what he said is true, and what I will add to that is it's even more in this time because there is nothing which, all our media consumption habits are fractured. Where we shop is fractured. Where we go, there's not that many things that you do as a group, all right? This live sports is the one thing. That's why athletes get paid so much money right now, because they can charge more than anything else, because it's the one thing where people are watching. They have to watch in real time, and they can't, tape it and go through your commercials, right, and not watch them. So it is the one thing that, and I think people are dying for community right now. I mean, all we hear in politics is, look at the game where the mayor was there also with Donald Trump, both cheering for the same team. All right, if that doesn't tell you something about this team, I don't know what does.
Not in the same section as the Mamdani people were quick to point out. Barbara Barker, Newsday sports columnist. Barb Barker, thanks for some time amid the mayhem and doing your real job. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Back to the Knicks Parade of the Air. Here is John in Jackson Heights. You're on WNYC. Hey, John, thanks for your patience.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I would see Jalen Brunson and chant MVP. I would see Dolan and say, sell the team. And for the rest of them, I'd go, let's go Knicks. By the way, I thought your previous, that woman, she was spot on with her analysis. In February, the Knicks did not look like, at times, like anywhere near a championship team, and they really came together. But my point is, I've seen all three Knicks championships. I was 14 in 69, and then in 73, I was 16. I remember them. But if you asked me in 1973, hey, John, when do you think the Knicks are going to win again? I would have said next year. Mm-hmm. I would not. If you showed me a picture of myself the next time they won, I would have said, no way. 70 years old, that I had to wait that long, I would not have expected it. But John, let's go Knicks.
Let's go Knicks. John, thank you very much. And if he goes back to 70 and 73, I think Hinda in Morris County may go back even further. Hinda, you're on WNYC. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Brian. Yes, I'm 83 years old. I can top the last caller a bit. Thanks for taking my call. I was a working-class kid in Brooklyn, and when I was 12 years old, I was so joyous when the Dodgers won the World Series. I adored them. I went to their games with my favorite uncle. a New York City cab driver, and then they broke our hearts by leaving for LA. I've had a good life, but I have not let another team into my heart until the Knicks, because they have brought our city together. I see joy in my city. I see us celebrating grit and decency. Jalen Brunson embodies both those qualities. I am ecstatic that my city and our country is experiencing this kind of joy, and my thanks to Mayor Mamdani for his apparent love of our city. I live in New Jersey, but you can't take the Brooklyn out of the girl. So thank you, Knicks. Thank you, New Yorkers.
That is awesome. Hinda, let me ask you one follow-up question. When the Dodgers broke your heart by leaving New York, did you then become a Mets fan when, they became the new National League team in New York in the 60s?
Well, first of all, I could never go over to the Yankees because that would be being a traitor. I
didn't even ask
and
that question.
The Knicks couldn't cut it. They just couldn't cut it. I tried to watch sports, but I couldn't. I mean, I was 12 years old. I knew the numbers of all the players. I mean, my God, we brought the Dodgers integrated baseball with Jackie Robinson. What a phenomenal team. We loved them. And then they went to the fancy people from our point of view, in LA, right? And the Hollywood fancy people. That's the way it felt to a working class kid in Brooklyn. So I could enjoy some sports, but I never let a team into my heart the way the Knicks have come in. And now I will go to whatever game I can afford to go to, even at my age, and even with a walker.
Hinda, thank you for sharing all of that with us. That was awesome. And joining our Knicks Parade of the Air, Kwame in South Orange, who I think wants to pick up on my question to Barb Barker about the coach, Mike Brown. Hey, Kwame, you're on WNYC.
Hi, Brian. Oh, my gosh, I'm excited to be here. I'm at home. I'm not at the parade. I wish I was. Saturday night, I watched the game in New York City, and it was just awesome and amazing. But I wanted to talk about the coaching staff. So oftentimes, there are a lot of unsung heroes, and a lot of people may not know them, right? And so I just wanted to pick up on, I've been watching the games preseason up into the chip, and if you look at the coaching staff behind Mike Brown, he had a supporting cast that was just stellar in the basketball community. People like Maurice Cheeks, old veteran players, Mark Starks. He had a lot of AAU coaches and former basketball players who had great runs, in the NBA, as well as the owners, and the owner, you had Leon Rose, but you had also William Wesley. So this was a whole village of people making, this historical moment happen. I just want to shout out those unsung heroes that, are not being talked about every day.
Kwame, great one. Thank you very much. Call us again. Al in Melville has a sports ticker tape parade memory, I think. Al, you're on WNYC. Hello.
Today. Oh, no. Anyway,
Al, can you hear me?
They want me to say it live on this.
Come on, Hello? Al. I know you're talking to somebody in the back. You're on the air. Hey.
Okay. Hi. One thing, my father was alive for the 1970 championship, and he loved it. He loved Walt Frazier and Bill Bradley and Willis Reed and everybody. Dave DeBuscher and of course I think Stolwerth was the fifth one, and but he died during the 73 season, just before they won the championship. So I've always, felt, bad in this way, dedicating it to him. But one little side thing, my son, who's now 40, when he was 10, 30 years ago, when the Yankees won the championship, I said to the principal of his elementary school, I'm taking my son into the Yankees parade. And he said, and I just don't want him, I don't want to lie about it. And I always told my son that. And he said, oh, that's fine. He said, and the principal laughed, and he said, just stay away from the 30 other kids who've got really bad colds today and are probably there too.
Good. Or you could have used that as an excuse. You could have told the teacher or the principal, I hear a lot of kids who are sick today. I'm going to keep mine out as a precaution. Right. But that's great. And do you have, that was the 1996 Yankees parade. They hadn't won the World Series in a long time going into 96. Do you have any memory from your kid at that parade once you got there?
Oh, yeah, he was thrilled, and I had a because it was crowds were so big, I actually held him up on my shoulders, because which was not a big, and then I had a stick so he could see, because he was short, at that time,
What are you doing being a Yankees fan in Melville anyway? Isn't everybody on Long Island for the Mets?
My brother went to Fordham, and he went every opening day.
In the
and
Bronx.
he got my son to be a Yankee fan when he was like 2.
Al, thank you for chiming in. We really appreciate it. All right, for now, that's our Knicks ticker tape parade of the air. We're going to come back to it near the end of the show. But because I think this might be fun for some of you, here's some ticker tape parade history from history.com. This is from a page they have called 7 Things You May Not Know About Ticker Tape Parades. I'm just going to read a few of them. But number 1 says, the first one was impromptu. While ticker tape parades are now meticulously scheduled, we certainly know that about today, the first was anything but. On October 28, 1886, during a parade honoring the dedication of the Statue of Liberty, employees threw ticker tape from office windows along Broadway to join the celebration, giving the tradition its name. Number 2, they aren't just for sports teams. And you probably know that, but the ticker tape parade is most closely associated with New York sports teams, but that wasn't always the case. Athletes were not honored until 1924, and before 1999, the parades primarily celebrated world leaders, military veterans, and astronauts, as well as achievements in exploration, aviation, and science. This portion says the astronauts of Apollo 11 were honored in 1969 following their moon landing. So are the Mets in 69, though John Lindsay, the mayor, then suspended parades after that. We'll get to that. Theodore Roosevelt welcomed back from his year-long African safari with a parade. Nelson Mandela, Albert Einstein, Pope John Paul II, John Glenn, Amelia Earhart, Queen Elizabeth II, John F. Kennedy, among the many individuals honored with parades. And then here's an interesting piece of trivia. Polar explorer Richard E. Byrd has been honored more than any other individual, receiving 3 parades, according to History.com. The first came in 1926 after his flight over the North Pole. He was celebrated the 3rd time for his flight over the South Pole and for leading his first Antarctica expedition. This History.com, which is the History Channel website, by the way, tells us that ticker tape is no longer used. Maybe you know this. As stock exchanges transitioned to electronic displays in the 1960s, ticker tape fell out of use and was replaced by shredded paper and confetti. And finally, the most material ever thrown for a parade, I didn't know they kept that record, was in 1945, following the Allied victory over Japan. In 1945, more than 5,000 tons of paper, confetti, cloth, and other materials rained down on New York City, the most ever used in a ticker tape celebration, roughly 100 times the amount generated by the average parade, it says. Also, the New York Post says the largest estimated crowd for past parades was nearly 5 million for the 1991 welcome celebration for returning Gulf War troops. Other Big Apple parades, including for the Apollo astronauts in 69, astronaut John Glenn in 62, General Douglas MacArthur after his dismissal by Harry Truman in 1951, and Charles Lindbergh in 1927 after his famed flight, drew around 4 million people in a pop. So there's a little ticker tape parades history, and I'll add that the Knicks, some of you know this, some of you do not, did not get a parade when they won, either in 1970 or 73. There are various theories as to exactly why, but after Mayor John Lindsay was reelected in 1969, he stopped throwing them. Theories are that he didn't think they were worth the expense or was concerned about security in an era when riots were more common, or just wasn't that into sports. He did hold smaller ceremonies for the Knicks in those years. So there's a little ticker tape parade history. Thought you might find some of that fun. And we'll continue in a minute with the surreal juxtaposition today of parade coverage and Supreme Court coverage and more Stay with us.